another pitcher who I personally really love. This was a guy I wanted to mention, and when Ralph brought him up for this episode, I was super elated. I'm talking about John Gray, Colorado Rocky, former number 3 overall pick. He's still just 25 years of age, and he's coming off his finest season as a pro. The big question I have for Ralph, the big question I have for you watching is how much does Coors really scare you away? Because his home and away splits show he was actually better in Coors than on the road. And it was a very evenly dispersed sample size. So this isn't, oh, well, that was 1 or 2 starts versus whatever. No, this was like split down the middle, home and away, and the numbers at Coors were slightly better, not marginally better, but slightly better. So that whole home ballpark thin air thing doesn't really fly with a guy like Gray. I've mentioned before, I love to target pitchers with high ground ball percentages to match with high K rates. And Gray was 6th best in the league in that respect last year in 2016. His K rate is a shade under 10. I don't know that is sustainable, but certainly above 9. And, you're looking at a guy that's going to flirt with 200 Ks. So it's conceivable to think that he could match last year's win total of 10. Steamer projects him for 12, mix in a little luck here or there, and, you could easily see him surpassing a dozen wins. So this is a guy I really like. I think he can easily surpass his current ADP, which is as the 46th starting pitcher off the board going in like the 15th round, 182nd overall. So I think there's a lot of upside with John Gray, and I personally will be trying to get him wherever I can this year.
Yeah, I love John Gray. And when you look deeper into the numbers, he's a player that you like more and more. The one thing is obviously he has the brutal home ballpark of Coors. I think he'll be a touch better on the road next year. I wouldn't be shocked by that. But I think he knows how to pitch in Coors. And there were some adjustments that he made throughout the season. And he has an arsenal of pitches. He has almost 4+ pitches, has a good fastball, very good slider, very good change, and a good curveball. One of the things that he did at home is he threw a lot more fastballs and sliders at home. And then when he was on the road, he started throwing a lot more changes and a lot more curves. And I think he started to adjust his approach. He had a couple of blow-ups here and there, but overall, I mean, he really made some adjustments in July and, became a better pitcher. It's just a matter of him, bringing that consistency on a game-to-game basis. I think he's got the swing and miss stuff to maybe, hit 9 in double digits in terms of the K rate. I think he could have a 10 K rate. He's got a 12.1% swing and strike rate, which is very good. He had the 26% strikeout rate last year. And he's a player who outpitched his ERA. If you look at his FIP, you look at his SIERA, his FIP was 3.6. His SIERA was 3.72. I think that the Rockies are continuing to develop and get better as a team overall. I actually wouldn't be shocked if they were a surprise competitor, at least, through the first few months of the season. I mean, if you start to look at that lineup now, it's relatively stacked. They have enough depth that a guy like Tapia, who probably would be in the outfield of at least half of the teams in the major leagues right now. There's some question about him. They got, Paramore as a backup player now, then as a starter. Dahl's coming along, Blackman. They don't really need to trade because this is a team that could potentially be built to win, especially if Gray makes a step forward and some of the other pitchers that they have in the rotation that were sort of, decent young players coming up. There's a few of those guys. Obviously, Hoffman's one of them. But I really like Gray. I kind of like the Rockies setup this year. And I think he's a player that, could potentially have ace upside just because of the kind of stuff he has, the kind of pitcher he is, and the 4+ pitches. I mean, having that sort of arsenal, that's a difference maker.
Yeah, the Rockies, as you mentioned, have been targeting high upside pitchers over the last couple of years, including this year's past draft where they took Riley Pint, another high schooler with a lot of potential and upside. We'll possibly talk about him in a future episode. So it's just it's starting to materialize. You mentioned a lot of the depth in the lineup. There is a lot of run potential behind these pitchers. There should be, as you mentioned, a lot of wins. There should be a lot of wins. They have to play the games, but there should be a lot of wins. So John Gray, definitely a guy that I would suggest everybody target. as I think you could see Ralph and I agree on, and just further proof that there is a lot of depth to pitching, that you don't have to necessarily reach high.